Hello you little munchkins, and welcome back to another video on the channel. Now, last time we did our top 5 favorite pieces of endgame activity in the Borderlands franchise, and this time around we're going to be doing our top 5 worst. Now, unfortunately, because last time we were only ranking from 8 different types as shown on screen here, there may be some overlapping picks here, but unfortunately it just has to be that way. And also, just before we get into the rankings, I do want to say that I know a lot of you are aware of the GFUEL drama and why I'm no longer sponsored by GFUEL. I'm going to break down that drama at the end of the video, so stick around for that if you want, and there's probably a chapter on the bar below if you want to skip to it. But with that being said, let's get right into it. Coming in at the number 5 spot, I've got the Chaos Chambers from Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. Now, in my top 5 best video, I had the Chaos Chamber in at number 3, and I do think that Chaos Chamber is some of the best endgame we've actually received, but I also do believe it is some of the worst. It's not a secret why at this point. I do not like that there are mayhem modifiers in the Chaos Chamber. Now, I will say I don't hate the fact that there are modifiers in general, just the fact that there are modifiers that once again punish the player for unreasonable conditions. Stuff like elemental immunity, in my opinion, has no business being in this kind of endgame content. It doesn't make it fun in a cool, unique gameplay way. Just completely nullifying someone's build isn't fun gameplay to me. It's just bad game design, and it's not something that I can personally get behind. So when I was making this video, I was like, okay, what goes in at number 5? I think it has to be the Chaos Chamber because of these modifiers. Now, if we perhaps saw a rework of the modifier system that made it more fair for players, I could probably change my mind on this, but for now, the Chaos Chamber is in at number 5. Now, coming in at number 4, we've got the Proving Grounds from Borderlands 3. In my top 5 best video, I had the Proving Grounds at number 5, and I said that I liked the idea behind the Proving Grounds, but was really upset with how much of a joke they were, offering little difficulty and no enemy variety. Well, they're on my worst list for the same reason, and just to elaborate on the enemy variety issue, what really bugs me about the Proving Grounds is that they seemingly took a focus on this Overseer Guardian, but when you go into the Proving Grounds, at no point do you face new Iridians, or Guardians, since I know it's kind of a different thing. I think it would have been really neat if all of the Proving Grounds had a focus on a new enemy type that you don't fight in the story, but just going in there and taking on Spider Ants, Skags, or Varkids just really didn't sit well with me. There's also the issue of difficulty, which again we were under the assumption that at launch BO3's endgame would be the Proving Grounds, offering a significant challenge for players, but that never really happened, leaving a bitter taste in most people's mouths, including mine. So with that being said, that is why the Proving Grounds are coming in at the number 4 spot. Now, following that, coming in at the number 3 spot, we've got Digistruct Peak from Borderlands 2. Now, let me first start off by saying that I actually love the concept of Digistruct Peak, and it basically kickstarted the takedown model. And a lot of people actually said that I shouldn't put Digistruct Peak amongst the rankings because it basically is a takedown. However, the reason why I'm ranking it as separate from the takedowns, and also the reason why it makes it onto this list, is because of the forced OP level progression. On one hand, I really love what Digistruct Peak brought to the Borderlands franchise, and I actually think it's one of the better pieces of content, and if it didn't have OP level progression, it would probably be on my best list. I love the aesthetics, I love that it returns different bosses. It's kind of like a predecessor to Takedowns and the Chaos Chamber with like the obelisk rooms. But forcing players to run this content numerous times is exactly why it's on the list. I don't like it when we force people into a piece of content numerous times knowing they're going to struggle with it, and not in a fun gameplay way, in a really annoying way that they don't enjoy. Especially when you take into account that when you get into the higher OP levels, the length of Digistruct Peak increases, making it even longer to run. I just cannot get behind that. Now, if there were respawns during Digistruct similar to how there is in a takedown or like a checkpoint system, I think I'd like it a little bit more, but until then, it comes in at the number 3 spot for me. Now, coming in at number 2, we've got the Slaughters from basically every Borderlands game in the franchise. The premise of this content is relatively simple. You enter an arena and have 5 rounds and 5 waves of enemies, sometimes culminating in a boss fight. In between rounds, you're let out to go and get some ammo, and then it's basically a repeat. But the reason why I have Slaughters in at number 2 on my worst endgame activities list is because it is just so mind-numbingly boring to me. Say what you will about Invincibles being a boring feature in the Borderlands franchise, there is nothing worse for me than a piece of content that literally has me doing what I've been doing for the entire story, and that's run around, kill enemies, and repeat. Very rarely will I play a Slaughter and actually have a good time, whether it be getting frustrated at enemy spawns, getting annoyed at the repeat heat of the enemies that I've been seeing for my entire campaign playthrough, or the sheer bored in my face realizing that I have to do 25 waves of the same monotonous gameplay. I just do not understand the buzz about slaughters, and I never have. I just find them to be some of the most boring gameplay in the Borderlands franchise, and I really wouldn't mind if they never returned. But there's only one more piece of content that I think is genuinely worse than these slaughters, because coming in at number 1 on my worst endgame activities list is the Wonderlands PLC model. Now, before I get into why I dislike this content, let me first preface this by saying that I am ranking the PLCs as their own type of endgame, as they do contribute to the Chaos Chamber and do have a somewhat unique layout compared to what we've seen in the past. They also feature a grindable currency, which is used at an exclusive wheel, which is supposed to give you said DLC gear, and it all to me feels like it's supposed to be its own kind of endgame. Also, Gearbox changed the name from DLC to PLC to basically highlight this. PLC, if you don't know, stands for post-launch content, which to me sounds like endgame. That's just how I perceive it. You might not, but that's why I'm ranking it. But now that we've gotten that out the way, boy, where do I start? The PLCs in Wonderlands have to be some of the most boring, monotonous, grindy, just unfun gameplay I have ever seen since the Underdome in Borderlands 1, and that's saying something. The main model here is 4 or 5 rooms of really weird mini objectives like picking mushrooms or turning valves, and then you get into the boss fight where you kill a boss, and then that's it. It's almost like a proving ground mixed with a slaughter, and if you know me and you've been listening to this list, you'll know that that's not a big selling point. But I think what really tops it off for me is that not only is this content extremely boring and not replayable, even if it was, the content in itself only lasts around 10 to 15 minutes. When the first PLC, Coiled Captors, released a while back, JoltsDude speedran it in 7 minutes on the launch. The only thing preventing him from getting a 4-minute time was literally that the PLC had a room in which you had to wait around for 3 minutes just to progress, no matter how fast you killed enemies. And if that doesn't highlight the biggest issue with this content, then I don't know what will. But I said enough about this content in the past. I'm not here to shit all over it, but I do want to say that genuinely the Wonderlands PLC has to be the worst endgame activity we've ever seen in a Borderlands game. And before you come at me with the whole epic, it's a Wonderlands game, it's not a Borderlands game, don't get me started. But that about wraps up my list. Let me know what you guys think of it in the comment section down below, and thank you guys so much for watching the video. And for those of you who have made it to the end of the video, I want to know about the GFUEL stuff. Let's break it down. So the other day I announced that I would no longer be partnered with GFUEL. I made the decision to discontinue my partnership with them. It was not the other way around. It was solely on me. It was my decision to stop working with the company. And without diving too deep into the drama here, basically the other day GFUEL fired all of its partner managers on the spot after one of the higher-ups allegedly used a slur during a team call. The partner managers went to HR to make a complaint, and the next day they were all fired on the spot. And to top all of this off, GFUEL did nothing to rectify the situation, even banning GFUEL partners who went into the Twitch chat asking what they were supposed to do now that all of the partner managers had been unceremoniously fired. So as a result, I made the decision the other day to terminate my partnership with GFUEL. I cannot support a company that treats their workers like that, especially in the current state of the economy. It's not something that my morals sit well with at all, and while I do love the product and I do really enjoy drinking it, it's not something that I'm going to be drinking anymore because I don't want to promote the company. And I've had some people saying, what if they get the partner managers back? What if they reinstate them and make this right? What about then? And the answer is still no. If it takes a massive amount of flack and the 80-some partners that have already left them for them to get their partner managers back, then that shows just where their morals lie. And in short, I just think that they should have made this right before any of this even blew up. It should not take a massive outburst and a huge drama to bring them back. So I can't support the company again. I'm really sorry, but thank you to everyone who used code NNG. And once again, thank you so much for watching this video. I do really enjoy it. But until the next one, everybody, take it easy, and I'll see you later.